Greetings. This right here I'm going to do part 2 of how to make a modest skirt. This one I'm kind of doing in miniature. Just to kind of give you a better idea, because when I go to work with the actual real skirt of mine, I think it's going to be so big it might be hard to visualize. So here are a couple pieces of scrap, and I cut the two. I can't hardly see what I'm doing when I'm actually watching myself on camera here. 2 pieces of fabric that are just scraps. I've went ahead and sewn one side, went ready to sew the other one. And say you're keeping a 1/2 inch seam allowance or whatever it is you like. Right now I'm kind of just going with a random one, but when you go to sew, this is something I don't know if I've taught yet. Always hold your thread tails as you take off. Try to keep everything steady. And one thing that is a very, very, very big pet peeve of mine is do not stomp the foot. Always be gentle with your sewing machine foot pedal. You do not, this is not the Indy 500, we don't need to race. I hate it when people try to floor it when they sew, because it does nothing but make a mess and it's very hard on your machine. So go slow, take a couple stitches. Now that that's stitched, you don't have to hold that thread. But you want to push your button to back stitch, and that will lock your stitches in place. You can usually back stitch a couple. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. I took it back to the very edge. But then slowly go ahead and take on off, and then you build up your speed a little bit. Never go faster than what you can control, because you want to keep it neat and keep it about the same amount from the edge. And as you're guiding, don't watch the needle. Watch the guide plate here on your machine, and you'll find that you stitch straighter. Find a line somewhere, even put your piece of tape out here on your machine and guide by that. That way you can have straight seams. And as you get close to the end, back stitch, and then there you go. You want to pull that out, trim close to the edge. Go ahead and trim your other. This is so awkward with the camera in my lap. Okay, then you have your 2 side seams sewn up. Now, you can have done a couple things ahead of time. You could, because you want to finish these for most fabrics, you could use pinking shears. If you don't know what I mean by pinking shears, here they are. See the jagged teeth? That will keep your fabric from raveling. If you don't have a serger, those are very handy to have about, and you could have just cut this out in pinking shears. You can run a zigzag stitch on these, and you could have done that before. You went ahead and sewed these side seams and sewed each layer separately, or you can go ahead and run it now and sew them together. Traditionally, it would be told to you that you should always, run on each separate piece of material and run 2 of them, and then press your seams open. It does look neater if you do that. It is not necessarily a horrible thing if you don't. You can do what I'm about to do, put your machine on zigzag, and then zigzag them together. It's not unlike when you're like me and you have a serger, and then you serge up and close them up together. You can do that either way. It's not the most proper way to do it, but it's absolutely functional and will work fine. And I know some seamstresses may yell at me for that. Again, kind of hold your thread tails down, take a couple stitches, back stitch, and take off with your zigzag. Again, being gentle, not to run Indy 500. New seamstresses are very, very bad at trying to speed with their machines, because they get very impatient and want to get the project done. I was absolutely guilty of that myself, but I implore you to take your time and not fall into that trap. Make sure your work is neat, and it will look a lot better in the end. Of course, normally you're going to be using matching thread. I'm using contrasting thread so you can see it better. When you use contrasting thread, it's going to show your mistakes, and you'll have to forgive me for the unevenness in that stitching, because with camera in my lap it's very hard to do. You go ahead and you do your other side too. Hold your thread, back stitch. See, it takes a little bit of coordination sometimes when you're first doing that. sure you get all the way to the end. Now you will not have to worry about your seams coming undone. Now you could have also, in theory, done a straight stitch there too, but I think the zigzag is a little more traditional. Now, this is your little miniature skirt, and you've got your side seams sewn. The next step, you could either go ahead and do your hem, but I usually don't. I usually go ahead and do my elastic casing up here at the top. And all you really do, let me grab my seam gauge, is in a real life one, you're going to turn it probably about 1 1/4, which is what I like to do because I like to use 1 inch elastic or 3/4 inch elastic, either one. But you can